how's it going? It's Sean Bradshaw from Cyberfret.com, and in this lesson I'm going to show you the ultimate rock scale pattern, which is what I just played. Scale patterns are kind of little melodic fragments that you can use in a lot of different ways in your solos, and you will never play a solo where you're doing exactly what I was just playing all the way through. What's going to happen is that you're going to just kind of put it in little different places, intermix it with different licks, and other scale patterns and other scale fragments and things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pattern and break it down for you. All right, let me kind of just play the pattern for you slow. Now this whole pattern, the way I'm playing it out of a basic C minor pentatonic scale here at the 8th fret. And there's a few different fingerings that people use commonly for that. I'm using my first and third fingers on these top two strings because that's very common when you're playing kind of rock blues and you're doing some bends, things like that. It's a lot easier for leverage for keeping your thumb up, and so you end up using your first and third fingers here rather than first and fourth fingers. But most certainly practice this scale pattern using both fingerings for that scale. But the whole idea of this pattern is that we're playing 3 notes in the scale going down the scale. So we go, and those first 2 notes I'm playing, I'm doing a pull off between my third and first fingers. And then I start on the second note down in the scale, and I'm doing this whole pattern starting from the highest note in the scale, down 3, then the second highest, down 3, and then the next highest, down 3 notes. But what happens is for the pull-offs, each set of 2 kind of patterns, we start off with a pull-off on the first string, and then when we do the next pattern, what happens is we play a note on this higher strings and then do the pull-off on the second string. So the whole sequence . And then we just take that down the entire scale. And there's sometimes when I'm using my third finger on this note on the third string, and there's sometimes when I'm using my second finger and I put in the fingering that I'm using. And you most certainly can experiment around with fingerings, but the way I do it is I go second finger, third finger when I go to that part of the sequence. Now the other thing that I was doing in the very beginning of the lesson is I was playing the exact same scale pattern, but doing some different things rhythmically. The first way I played it, I was using what are called 8th note triplets. And an 8th note triplet is where I'm playing 3 times in every beat. So it'd be like this: 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. All right. So here, let me kind of play that scale pattern with the jam track again, so you kind of hear that where I'm playing those groups of 3 triplets. And And then the other way that I was playing it was using 16th notes. And since this whole scale pattern is built around going down 3 notes in the scale, what happens is the whole thing gets displaced a little bit, but has a kind of cool sound, and you can use either one. So here it is with the 16th notes. And so for this whole thing, I don't end up ever going down to the 6th string just because it ends up being a little bit more awkward fingering, and you most certainly could play around with that, but I'm showing you where you might kind of practically play this in playing a solo, and that's usually the top 5 strings. And so once I reach down here at the 5th string, all I'm doing is reversing directions. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a little solo. I'm going to stick just with that minor pentatonic scale, keep it simple, but I'm going to try to throw in that scale pattern and you know, intermix it with some other licks and things so you can kind of hear how it's used out in the real world. Okay, so you know, sometimes it's hard to have to think about demonstrating and using that scale pattern, but hopefully that gave you a little idea of how you might kind of use it. You're not going to just run the whole thing. You're just going to be using little fragments. So have fun with your new scale pattern. Have a good one.